Hello guys and welcome back. Today we are back at Stranded Alien Dawn, and today we're going to be covering various tips to surviving Desertum because it's a whole new biome and you might find it more deadly or more difficult to survive in. So let's get into it. The first thing that I want to talk about once you start off is reviewing your terrain. Now as you can see, we're in quite an open spot here. Now later on in the Desertum update from your research, you're actually going to be able to create concrete fortifications. This is done with cement which uses rock, and it's quite difficult to produce. It's time consuming more than it is difficult, but it is much more durable than wood, and we don't have much wood to use around here. So what I highly recommend is once you jump in game to look at your surroundings and have a little bit of a think about where you want to start building for the late game. And as you can see, with this being so open, this isn't going to be very or I should say it's going to be very resource heavy in order to build a full defensive structure here. However, if we go along here, we have these impassable pieces of terrain, and we're going to be using a lot of rocks anyway, so it could be really beneficial to us to remove all of these rocks, place a wall across here, a wall across here, and also another one over here, and one here. Pretty sure you can get through that. And you can see that we have now got we'll have all of this space available to get building, and then we can also branch out should we wish. So that's one thing to bear in mind right from the get-go. And as we did mention prior, wood is not very easily available. You can see a lot of sticks here. The wood that you will find is going to come from either chopping down these like the tea tree here, only produces 5 wood, or these big trees which actually produce a lot of wood, 50 there. However, they're very few and far between, and you may even, if you're lucky, find some dead wood. We're not having much luck here. You want to use only wood for items that need wood. For example, the workbench here, it either requires metal refinement or wood in order to produce a workbench. You want to save the wood for these rather than using it for building your structures. So do bear that in mind. Make sure that you're using the resources that you have most freely available for your base structures, and use the wood for the items that specifically require that. With that said, I'm going to get my survivors starting their little settlement. We'll probably place it in this direction with the intention of building our base down here eventually. I guess the next thing that we need to talk about is early game food. Now you can see here we are researching the rounded cactus. This will provide, once it's flowering, some cactus fruit for us to eat. That's easily available in the early game. Same with these tall cactus. They produce a flower that is edible but doesn't give any enjoyment from it. It's quite a bland flavor, so to speak. The other thing that we can get food from in the early game, let's just pause it for a second, is from hunting. So obviously you have these I think it's like tecatil, or off the top of my head, I've read it once. I think it's called a tecatil. And there's also you may find some species that you've seen previously, but there is also the camel-like species. Here they are, the humped animal. I think this is the dron, something like that. These are all great for early game food because you can just hunt them. There is also another plant that is available. So this is the succulent plant, the juice plants. These should only be consumed raw as a last option, and the reason for that is there is a 25% chance of getting food poisoning if you eat these raw. So what you can do is create soup out of them. Highly recommend doing that if you're going to eat these and you can't find any other food in the early game. That being said, if you do get food poisoning, then you're going to have to worry about getting antibiotics. Now, antibiotics are actually produced from this fruit here, the branched cactus. If you research that and then you find a fruiting cactus, this one here, you'll be able to take the cactus slime and turn that at the workbench into antibiotics. Slightly different to how grain cob is fermented for antibiotics. And so it's a bit more resource heavy because it requires our workers, our survivors to actually produce it. So do get these on the go as soon as possible. The other thing that you can do to try and negate food poisoning, if we go over to our survivors here, you can see they're actually going off to make camp now. If you go over to their restrictions tab, you can go on the raw food section. We haven't found anything yet, but from here you can deny them eating that juice plant raw, which I highly recommend doing. Now, one thing you will also note at the moment, it's currently 22 degrees outdoors and it's just starting to get to night. The desert biome is very hot during the day and it gets very cold during the night. So you're going to have to prepare for that. You'll find that your survivors do suffer from mild hypothermia quite often. What you want to do is, once you've got some research on the go, try and prioritize construction so that you can build you can see here it's starting to drop, a small house or build where they can stay in to keep warm during the night. And obviously make sure that you have summer clothing for during the day, as you don't want them wearing big fur coats, which some of them might start off with. Another tip that's generally just good practice is if you do get a fight, an aggressive animals event coming, if it's during the day, do go out to fight them if possible, because you're going to have better accuracy with your survivors. And also you can kite them as well, but you probably know that. Whereas at night, you'll notice that it can be quite difficult to hit things. Anyway, let's get on to the next tip. And another thing, just again, a very general tip. You see, we sent Ken out. I think that's his name. Yes, Ken out to fight with them. And one of his traits, you should always be aware of their traits and think about how to make the most of them. Ken has bloodlust. He gains happiness when killing or observing death. And so obviously we've sent him to fight these. And if we go across to the happiness bar here, he's just received 50 plus to his happiness because he's observed death. So I think this is the sign as to where it's actually going to hit once he's got back to base and all of the killing has really sunk in. So do be aware of their traits. Things like that are going to really help you with keeping happiness high and surviving in the long run. So at this point, we have boxed ourselves into this area. We have room to expand in various directions should we wish. But this is a perfectly good defendable spot, and we're also getting the farms on the go. So we're at a point where we're able to start sustaining ourselves. We even have a little building here, which is keeping us warm and providing us with some, like the workbenches, and we can start looking at getting all of the resources that we need. You'll also notice that we're now working on a big building. Now this is for our survivors so that they have each their own room, and also a large area which is going to be the place where they can chill, like the living room. And we're also going to work on storage. Well, we'll probably turn this into storage and then connect to that. And the reason that we're doing this is because we've got the wet season coming, which is going to dampen everyone's spirits. They're going to be much sadder getting wet. And so we want to give them as much space indoors as possible to get everything that they need done, unless it's something that requires them being outside. And the other thing with the wet season is it's going to boost the average growth rate to double what it currently is. And so this is going to be really important for us to get some extra food in and be able to prep us for further down the line, so that we can really concentrate on developing the cement that we need for the fortifications, and then we can reinforce this and protect ourselves from heavier waves later on. So that is my next tip for you. In fact, that is the last of the tips. I would love to go through to the wet season, but unfortunately But that is the last of our tips. So guys, if you did find this video helpful, please do hit the thumbs up. Let me know if you're going to attempt one of the harder difficulties, hard, very hard, or even insane. And if so, what suggestions you have. What's your favorite tips for those? And also let me know if you'd like to see me attempt insane at some point, or maybe very hard as a difficulty, and we'll see how far we can get, and perhaps maybe from that do a guide specifically for those harder levels. But anyway guys, we are going to leave it there. Special thanks does go to all of our amazing Patreons who support the channel. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. Most notably, our Solar Eclipse Patrons, James Irwin, Firefless, and Trebor, as well as our Lunars, the Calamity, Ben, and Star, and our Blood Moon of the day, which today is Scooter. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.